Lena was the kind of person who believed she had her life figured out. She had a 5-year plan, color-coded calendars, and a fridge full of neatly labeled meal preps. Love? That was scheduled for someday, maybe after her promotion, after she finished her MBA, or after she finally learned how to fold a fitted sheet properly. But life, as it often does, had other plans. It all started on a rainy Tuesday, the kind of day when everything goes wrong. Lena had missed her bus, spilled coffee on her white blouse, and then, to top it all off, dropped her phone in a puddle. By the time she stumbled into the coffee shop near her office, she looked like a walking disaster. She ordered her usual, trying to salvage what was left of her day. As she waited for her coffee, she heard a voice behind her. Rough morning? She turned to see a guy with a crooked smile and a slightly too large umbrella tucked under his arm. His name was Jake. He was the kind of person who looked like he never had a bad day, with messy hair that somehow worked and a laid-back charm that immediately annoyed her. "You could say that," Lena replied, trying to keep the conversation short. She wasn't in the mood for small talk. Jake wasn't deterred. "Well, I'm about to make your day worse. I think that's my coffee you're holding." Lena looked down at the cup in her hand, horrified to realize he was right. In her flustered state, she had grabbed the wrong order. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," she stammered, handing it over. Jake laughed. "Relax, it's just coffee. But I'll tell you what, since you already owe me, how about you join me for another cup?" Lena's first instinct was to decline. She had work to do, deadlines to meet, but something about his easygoing attitude, and the fact that she could really use a break, made her pause. "Fine," she said, surprising herself, "but I'm not paying." And just like that, what started as a disastrous morning turned into the beginning of something unexpected. Over the next few weeks, Lena and Jake kept running into each other at the same coffee shop. It became their unspoken tradition. She'd be there, nose buried in her laptop, and he'd show up with some ridiculous story about his day. He was a freelance photographer, the opposite of Lena's structured corporate world. Where she thrived on order, Jake thrived on spontaneity. He'd invite her to impromptu art shows or suggest random road trips, always trying to pull her out of her carefully controlled bubble. At first, Lena resisted. But little by little, Jake's carefree spirit began to chip away at her walls. He made her laugh, really laugh in a way she hadn't in years. He showed her that life didn't always have to go according to plan to be beautiful. But just as things were getting serious, Lena panicked. One night, after a perfect evening filled with too much pizza and stargazing in the back of Jake's old truck, he turned to her and said, "I think I'm falling for you, Lena." Her heart raced. And not in the good butterflies in your stomach kind of way. More like a run for the hills kind of way. "Jake," she whispered, "this wasn't supposed to happen. I don't have time for this. For us." Jake's smile faded, but he nodded. "I get it, but Lena, love doesn't care about your schedule." She left that night feeling like she had made the right decision. But days turned into weeks, and something felt off. The coffee shop felt emptier without his sarcastic comments. Her days felt longer, even with all her perfectly planned tasks. It didn't take long for Lena to realize that the life she thought was complete wasn't as full without Jake in it. One evening, after yet another long day at work, Lena found herself back at that same coffee shop. She stared at the empty seat across from her, the one Jake used to occupy, and something inside her snapped. "What am I doing?" she muttered to herself. Before she could overthink it, she grabbed her phone and called him. "Jake, it's me." She paused, swallowing her pride. "I think I made a mistake." They met at the park where they had their first impromptu picnic. And this time, Lena didn't let fear get in the way. "I don't have everything figured out," she admitted. "But maybe that's okay, because life isn't meant to be perfectly planned. And I don't want to miss out on us because I was too busy trying to control everything." Jake pulled her into a hug, his voice soft in her ear. "I don't need you to have it all figured out, Lena. I just need you to show up." And she did. Their love story wasn't perfect. They had their share of arguments. Like the time Jake tried to convince Lena that pineapple on pizza was superior, or when Lena dragged Jake to a corporate networking event and he showed up in jeans. But through the laughter, the mishaps, and the unexpected twists, they learned that love isn't about finding someone who fits into your plans. It's about finding someone who makes you want to throw the plans out the window and embrace the chaos. Years later, as Lena looked back on her life, the one that didn't go at all according to plan, she smiled. Because sometimes the best love stories are the ones you never see coming. The ones that show up on a rainy Tuesday with a crooked smile and the wrong coffee order. And in the end, Lena realized that love wasn't an item to check off her to-do list. It was the beautiful, messy, unpredictable adventure that made life worth living.